We know. All right, let's get back to our divisional round matchups. Broncos hosting the Bills on Saturday at 4:30 Eastern. Let's talk about that game. Zone defense, key matchup in this game, right? Bo Nix has struggled against zone this year, ranking outside the top 20 in completion percentage, yards per attempt, and total QBR. The Bills defense ranks in the top 3 in all those categories. Bills defense has looked a little better of late, too. Hawk, when you watch this Bills defense, who specifically stands out to you?
I love Cole Bishop.
Yeah.
We talked about it on this show when he kind of had his coming out party. The Bills defense is best when they have great safety play, and I feel like Cole Bishop is the next great safety in Buffalo here. I'm going to show you a series of plays. Number one, early in the game, this is what I call a tone-setting play. Parker Washington, who has been great, is going to come out to block Cole Bishop. Let me show you something. I tell my son in football, when you touch somebody on the football field, you touch them aggressively. This is a violent sport. Next, you're going to grab the third down, fake the blitz, cop out underneath it, force a punt. Here, same thing. This is a third down, 30-yard line. He has to consider that Cole Bishop is in the middle of the field to force fourth downs against his offense. And then lastly, you're going to have the game-stealing interception. Cole Bishop is a name that I promise you have to continue to talk about, continue to research, be very familiar with, because I remember when he played the Kansas City Chiefs early in the season, 5 pass breakups, and that was kind of a turning point for this defense and also a turning point for the Kansas City Chiefs this season.
Yeah, these Bills, Dan, they are no stranger to a tough defense on the offensive side as we flip it to the other side of this one. How does this Bills offense match up with Denver?
I think you got to get 15 or 20 targets to your backs and tight ends, and you got to treat Khalil Shakir as a running back. They kind of do anyway, but this is indifferent of injuries to the wide receivers. We obviously know that they've been decimated by that, but this is how this pass game goes. Yards per attempt, they're the best in the NFL when targeting their tight ends and backs. Touchdowns, 15 of them, that's second. The Broncos defense, that's the weakness. No, I don't want to go throw against Riley Moss and Patrick Surtain. I absolutely not. So I think this is what we've talked about on the show. There's not a ton of weaknesses to Denver's defense. This is one of them. That's how Buffalo wins.
I wanted to bring this to you guys because we asked Jordan Renan about this earlier, so some news that we wanted to get to. We just saw this from Dan Graziano. This is what he's hearing about John Harbaugh. He's still in New Jersey meeting with the Giants officials, and Jackson Dart is there. As of now, the plan is to fly home to Baltimore tonight, speak with other teams in the coming days. That's exactly what we expected. But interesting, Dan, that Jackson Dart's has been in the room for this meeting.
Well, I think it's huge, and I think it speaks to the seriousness of it.
Yeah.
Coach Harbaugh wanted to meet Jackson Dart, spend time with him, and it's good that Dart took the time to meet. It's an important relationship, right? I think it speaks to the serious from both sides.
Means that the Giants can meet the demands. It's like, hey, we have the quarterback. Let me show you him, talk to him, see what you're working with here. It's worth it.
Remember, as we told you, he wants a young quarterback. He wants organizational structure in New York. John Harbaugh meeting today with the New York Giants. This is Harbaugh's first in-person visit to a team's training facility, according to Adam Schefter and our Giants reporter, Jordan Renan. And look, we're lucky today. We got Jordan Renan in studio with us, along with Dan and Hawk. So we go right to you, Jordan. Fill us in on this meeting with Harbaugh and the Giants, and what Harbaugh's looking for in a landing spot, because it does feel like he's going to get to dictate a lot of this. Yeah,
that's the thing. It's almost like John Harbaugh is vetting the teams instead of usually it's the teams get to vet the coach. But when you have a resume and you have enough cachet like John Harbaugh has, it's kind of the other way around. Now, the Giants have serious interest in John Harbaugh. They get first crack at him here to bring him in and meet with him in person. They already sent owner Chris Mara there over the weekend, had dinner with him, or lunch, I think it was actually. Now he gets to see the whole facility and meet other people in ownership, have face-to-face with general manager Joe Shane, which is a key piece of this as well. And then when you talk to people now, from what I understand, is that John Harbaugh is still likely to take other visits. At this point, at last check, he's still likely to take other visits. The Giants would like to close this out, but the Giants might want it, but it's not always all their desire. Now, what I heard John Harbaugh is looking for in a team, aside from ownership, which is an obvious thing, an organizational structure, right? A solid quarterback, right?
They have that.
Okay, the Giants might fulfill that. Draft capital. The Giants picked 5th overall in this year's draft. Then you're talking about cap space and financial flexibility, right? That means you can add pieces, free agents, namely, and really fill out the roster so that it can meet what you're looking for in building a team.
Yeah, and I think for the Giants and Harbaugh, it makes a lot of sense for those reasons. They have a quarterback. And I think even when you look at the options that Harbaugh, I'm sure, is going to consider, meet with, talk to, he just feels like the CEO leadership that has done well in the Giants organization. Think of Tom Coughlin. Now, different coaching styles, absolutely, but this is a guy that is going to be like the absolute figurehead. And when you talk about personnel and you talk about coaching and you talk about the locker room, that's one thing John Harbaugh is really good at. If he has the coaches in place, which I have no doubt he will be able to get them and also attract them to New York.
Yeah, Jordan, 2 questions. Number one, you said the Giants would like to close this out today. So you mean to tell me, at least in your opinion, that they would prefer to have Harbaugh? That would be by far the number.
I think that would be, yes, my understanding.
They would like to hire him today.
People
if
said that would be that their choices, and that's why they're going full court press. Their owners went to his house the other day that they would like to have John Harbaugh.
Okay, second question.
Not all their desire, though, right? It's a two-way street.
Sure, yeah, but if it was up to them, it would get done today. Second question, you mentioned Harbaugh desiring organizational structure. What is your knowledge on him and the general manager and Joe Shane being tied together? Because right now that would imply to me there is not necessarily organizational structure.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I mean, we'll have to wait. That's a wait and see.
Yeah.
I think that was okay. We're going to get to that today. I don't know where that's at going into this.
Yeah.
My understanding is it wasn't a problem. There wasn't anything there that was a problem.
Okay.
We'll see. Maybe that changes here. Who knows?
I have one more quick question, Dan, before you go. Do we have any indication that Harbaugh would meet with Jackson Dart? Like, is Dart even in town? Do you know if that would happen?
Not sure about that. When we asked Joe Shane, when he talked at the end of the season if Jackson Dart was going to be part of this head coaching conversation, he pretty much, in the nicest way possible, said not really.
Yeah.
He's a rookie quarterback in the NFL.
Sure.
Like, yeah, maybe it's different if it's Lamar Jackson, but
yeah.
Which we'll get
Dart,
to that because he will be.
On that point, though, like less from the Giants side of including Jackson Dart, but for Harbaugh, like if they start to meet those other demands, he might want to have a conversation with Jackson Dart and see, okay, is this a guy?
maybe that did happen. I'm not saying it didn't.
Sure, of
I
course.
don't know
Yeah, I was just
specifically if he
curious.
did.
Of course.
I know he did study or look into the quarterbacks. And when we say quality quarterbacks, the 3 top teams of interest that I was told are the Giants, or the Titans, and the Falcons.
Young quarterbacks.
So 2 of them are the two
quarterbacks.
young quarterbacks from last year. The other one is Michael Penix, a little different situation.
I think with the Giants and Coach Harbaugh, I would say this. Harbaugh is obviously a great coach. And I think that one of the things that has to be at least conversations in these meetings, not only for Harbaugh, but I really think for all these coaches, is who is your offensive and defensive coordinator? You could come in and meet with me if I'm the Mara family, and you could give me all the slogans, and then this is the way we're going to do it, and it all sounds great. All the coaches say the same things, right? I want to know because, yes, the impact of that coach on Jackson Dart is going to determine if you're a good coach here and if we actually win. So if you're John Harbaugh, are you bringing Greg Roman? Because that who's his offensive coordinator for a long time, who just got released by the Chargers? Are you bringing Todd Monken, who's been the guy for the past couple seasons in Baltimore? Well, I want to know what guy. Not give me a list. Who is the coach that you have committed to go with you? I'd also say this. Who's the defensive coordinator? Because I think Zach Gore is a good coach, but there's been, in the 2 seasons he was the DC, last year and this year, there's been 2 different stretches where they've been terrible on defense in Baltimore. And so I think those have to be conversations that, yes, we want you, but it's not just coach. It should not be John Harbaugh and we'll figure it out. There has to be some names that get attached to this, and the biggest one should be the offensive coordinator.
Well, most of the time when these coaches go into these meetings, they do have whatever their plan is, right? And so that should be presented today to the Giants as they continue on. Thanks so much to Jordan Renan for being here. Again, as Jordan's reporting, the potential top 3 for Harbaugh right now, the Titans, the Giants, and the Falcons.
Do you know if he's going to go meet with Tennessee then?
The plan as far as going into yesterday, and I even made a call coming into the show, was that it still looks likely that he's going to make other visits. Not sure which one, which place, if it's both or what, but that was the original plan. It was said to me, it's likely he's going to visit those 3 spots by the end of the week.
Okay, and then, as you also told
things
us,
could change.
Yeah.
The Giants would like to close this deal today, but it's not all up to them. Thanks so much, Jordan. Really interesting stuff. We'll keep an eye on all of this as this news continues to fly around. To the biggest news of the week, though, Mike Tomlin stepping down as the Steelers head coach after 19 seasons yesterday. New on NFL Live, Steelers owner Art Rooney spoke about it today.
I was certainly willing to take another run at it next year with Mike. That's what I was expecting to talk about yesterday, but obviously went in a different direction. We're going to be an open book in terms of who we look for and the list that we build. Could I sign up for another Chuck Noll or another Bill Cowher or another Mike Tomlin? Sure. Somebody that we feel fits that mold would be great, but But for now, we're not going to kind of narrow the box too much. I don't know if it's a rebuild. I mean, it's a new coach, so there will be changes, and we'll have to all get comfortable with kind of the plan, whether you call it a rebuild or not. I don't like that word that much. We'll try to compete day one if we can.
And Adam Schefter reporting today that the Steelers have requested interviews with Rams passing game coordinator Nate Scheelhaase. He's a name that's been flying around a lot. Yeah. Rams DC Chris Shula, GM Omar Khan will lead the head coaching search. Dan, how attractive is this Steelers job to potential coaches?
It's the Pittsburgh Steelers, so it's a very attractive job. Is it flawless? No. Are there expiring contracts or older players that are very expensive that you're going to have to make decisions on? Of course. It's still the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's one of the founding organizations in the NFL. I think if you are the coach that is going to look at this football team and, okay, what is the most glaring problem and how does it get fixed, or what has to get fixed immediately, it has to start at the age of the quarterback and a high-end player. If we just looked at the 7 quarterbacks in the AFC playoffs that are in this year, 25, 23, 26, 24, 29, 27. I'm not talking about Aaron's at 42. So, and by the way, I'm not mentioning Joe Burrow, who's 29, Patrick, who I believe is 30, Lamar, who's 29. So it's not that the Pittsburgh Steelers need to find a quarterback. They need to find their young quarterback, their next guy that when we put this list up next year, he's a 24-year-old. And so I think that's the starting point. And with Mr. Rooney saying we want to compete as soon as possible if we can. You can't unless you get one. That's just a point-blank period. I don't care what logo you have or what team name you go by. If you don't have a young star quarterback, you have no shot in that conference. There's way too many good ones, not only now, but for the next decade.
And how do you get there?
I don't know.
Jackson Dart was available last year, and we can see it that actually evolves into
Malik
the version.
Willis?
Malik Willis.
You said it yesterday,
right?
But that's a little bit, listen, that's a little bit of an unknown, right? There's a reality
absolutely.
to that.
It's a little bit like when you got Justin Fields. Not the same, right? But like you're hoping that a guy that maybe people didn't feel the highest at in a certain moment could catch lightning in a bottle when you get to Pittsburgh. And that's why when you go for a head coach, you're going to have to get a CEO type, very similar to the Harbaughs, very similar to the Tomlins, because that's how we got in this situation. It's because they win so much, they're never in position for one of those clear-cut quarterbacks, right? So he has those winning seasons with Tomlin, but he has it with an aging Ben Roethlisberger, Kenny Pickett, Duck Hodges, Mason Rudolph, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, you name it. So when you get a guy coming in here, Marcus said Signetti, I don't know how realistic that is. Pittsburgh
what do you think
guy,
about LaFleur?
I like
if
LaFleur
it doesn't
as well.
get done in Green Bay,
I like LaFleur as well.
Yeah.
I think there is a certain personality that locker room, that organization needs as like a staple. I like Marcus Freeman. That's a name, college ranks, maybe unrealistic. I like Shula. Those kind of names, mentor out of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Before this locker room, you're going to need that because there's no telling when you're going to be in position to get that young guy.
And also, just in relation to that quarterback position, when you're hiring this new coach, that first year is huge.
Yeah.
And so, I'll use the New York Jets as an example. Aaron Glenn comes over, and everyone's very excited about Aaron Glenn and the hire at the New York Jets or with the New York Jets. And then the quarterback play just falls off, and there's other reasons, but it falls off. And now all of a sudden it looks like a complete mess. And so if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, it might sound good to say, you know what, don't address the quarterback position right now. There's things in the future, this and that. And then all of a sudden you're staring at 3-14 in the face and everything's a complete disaster and you're trying to play catch up. And so it's a very prominent position that I do think you have to try to address and be aggressive addressing and finding the young star.
Yeah, you guys said this yesterday, but when they hired Mike Tomlin, the game was different. It's changed a lot even since then.
Yeah.
One more interesting note from the press conference today. Art Rooney said this on Aaron Rodgers' future. Aaron came to play here for Mike. I think that will affect his decision. All right, we're just getting started divisional round for the second year in a row. We're going to get to more about what they're going to do in this game and all that, but how did they get to this point? Because the rebuild's been really remarkable.
Yeah, I think it's one of the better rebuilds in modern NFL history. And if you go back to 2021, okay, they hired Nick Cassier as their general manager. They draft Nico Collins. That's the only guy that hits. They're bad that year. They fired their coach, David Culley, 22. They trade in March Deshaun Watson. They draft Stingley and Jalen Petrie. They were bad again. They fired their coach, Lovie Smith. Then you go to 2023. They hired DeMeco Ryans in January, right? Since then, this is an absolute rocket ship when it comes to player acquisition and success. 3 years ago, since then, In 23, they go Stroud, Anderson, Tank Dell, Henry To'o, Xavier Hutchinson, and then free agency, Dalton Schultz and Sheldon Rankins. The following year in 24, they had Lassiter, Blake Fisher, who's their 6th offensive lineman, Kalen Bullock, Kate Stover, tight end, and free agency, Hunter, Autry, and Derek Barnett. And then this year, Aziz Al-Shaair, Jaden Higgins, Ursary, who's a free agent, by the way, Noel, Marks, and Christian Kirk in a trade. Do the math. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. In the last 3 years, this team's basically added 20 starters. We only play with 22. A couple injuries changed that, but the fact that Nick Caserio, and let's be honest, Houston 3 years ago, 4 years ago, they were a little bit of a disaster with a lot of the things that were going on in conversation off the field, let alone being terrible in 21 and 22 from a football team perspective.
It's amazing.
Ever since that 2023 January, when they hired DeMeco Ryans, it has become a rocket ship, and now they're legit Super Bowl contenders. It's been a 3-year, just one of the more impressive rebuilds we've seen in the NFL.
They've done an impressive job of adding roles, too, because even when you look at the young receivers like Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel, they're not tasked to do too much, but you can see their effect on the offense. You talk about Marks. Nick Chubb isn't even on this list, and he's done well for them in his role. Xavier Hutchinson has stepped up. They've got guys in, they've developed them, they've evolved, they fit into a system, and now they're reaping the benefits. And the best part is, the best is yet to come. These players are getting better on a year in and year out basis.
I think it's impressive, too. They obviously, as a front office, do a great job of evaluation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you don't have, in those 3 draft classes, you don't have many misses. It's not like they have 40 picks and those are just the hits. They only have 3 or 4 guys that aren't on the team anymore.
For Penn State fans, they could be excited about the receivers because Higgins, Noel, Hutchinson, all from Iowa State. Campbell.
Look at that. Dang. All right, I do want to point this out. We'll see what they do against the Patriots, right, in the divisional round. They're 0-6 all-time in the divisional playoffs. But DeMeco Ryans did tell us that this year's team, they're not just happy to be there. They have this goal in mind to make it to the Super Bowl. They'll have to get past the Texans, though, in our game, the AFC divisional round matchup. And this comes your way, 2:45 Eastern on ABC, ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and the ESPN app on Sunday. Coverage begins with postseason NFL countdown at noon Eastern on ESPN. Do not miss this. We got all kinds of great coverage coming your way. How about this? You guys knew on NFL Live, Oregon quarterback Dante Moore said he's decided to return to school for the 2026 season, foregoing a chance to be a top pick in the 2026 NFL draft. His decision expected to have significant ramifications on the draft, right? Dan Moore was number 2 on Mel Kiper Jr.'s big board. What does this mean for the QB landscape now for the draft?
Well, first of all, smart decision by him.
I agree.
It'll be an arms race for the number 1 pick if the Raiders don't decide to take Fernando Mendoza, because I think he's going to be clearly the number 1, at least, quarterback. Now this puts Ty Simpson, very much so, from Alabama, in that conversation. We'll see if the Miami quarterback Carson Beck continues to play at a high level. But I think more so you're looking at 2 names, Malik Willis and Mac Jones, that are going to be highly sought after from NFL teams. Malik will be a free agent. Malik's going to get $40 to $50 million. Mac Jones, I think you're going to have to trade for and probably pay, but teams are going to be desperate for quarterbacks.
Oh, I was going to give you a chance there, Huck, but we got to go, actually, anyway. So
I'm told my ear.
Either way, interesting for Ty. We're back on NFL Live. Let's read and react to some coaching news around the league, starting in L.A., where the Chargers fired OC Greg Roman yesterday. The Chargers offense really struggled in 2 playoff games under Roman. The Bolts scored a total of 1 touchdown in those 2 games, and that came in the 4th quarter of their 32-12 wildcard loss to the Texans last year. Overall, LA scored 15 fewer points and averaged almost 100 fewer yards per game in the playoffs than they did in the regular season under Roman. And Dan, what does the next OC need to bring to Justin Herbert in that offense?
Yeah, I think a modern pass concept playbook that will consistently, on a week-to-week basis, be able to attack evolving coverages. I think that's really the sticking point for the Chargers. Is Greg Roman is fantastic when it comes to run game design. But what happened with some of their injuries is the pass game and the concepts and the evolution of those. They didn't necessarily, by week to week, meet the criteria of like, hey, this is how we're going to have to attack these certain coverages to free up people. I think that's going to be a mandate for the next offensive coordinator, because they're going to have to strike in Justin Herbert's prime.
Yeah, a healthier O-line will help too, which that should happen. The Eagles fired offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo after their early playoff exit. That means it's a new year, and it'll be another new play caller for Jalen Hurts. That's become something of a tradition. I mean, look at this. Whomever the Eagles hire for the next season will be his 13th play caller since his freshman year at Alabama. The last time he had one in consecutive seasons was Shane Steichen, who took over as play caller halfway through the 2021 season, then came back in 2022 before leaving to become the head coach of the Colts. Huck, what should Philly be looking for in its next OC?
They're looking for some kind of stability, and I don't mean that from a standpoint that each year it's a new offensive coordinator. I mean offensively. When you watch this team this year, they looked predictable. They looked like they had nothing to hang their hat on, and when they did play well, it seemed more like a broken clock being right twice a day. So for this new offensive coordinator, you have to have something that takes the pressure off of these players, no matter how talented they are, something that you can hang your hat on, and you don't need to depend on making superhero-like plays in order for the offense to have production.
Let's go to Baltimore, where owner Steve Bisciotti spoke about their coaching search yesterday.
Unlike 18 years ago, I am very intrigued by coaches that were the hottest offensive and defensive coordinators 5, 6, 7 years ago in their cycles and got jobs and went to teams that were non-competitive and didn't have a quarterback. And they grind for 3 or 4 years, and they're caught up in the cycle of many of my partners. So I said to Lamar, you can jump on my plane or find another way to get up there. But if you're that interested, then we're going to get a schedule. He's going to call me up. He's going to offer you the same luxury. And I said, I hope you take it. And he said, yes, sir, I think I will. So we'll find out.
I love that, by the way. Just to be clear, that last comment was Bisciotti inviting Lamar Jackson to become part of the head coaching interviews. He also said he's talked to Lamar. And he will continue to talk to Lamar after each one. Dan, do you like the idea of Lamar Jackson being in the mix for all this?
I do. I like what he just said there a little bit more, though. I mean, yes, I want Lamar involved, all that. But when he says, I'm fascinated by the coaches that were the hot coordinators years ago, got the head coaching job and didn't have a quarterback and struggled through it, that brings my mind to what? Like, you're going to think the same thing as me.
I got 5 names.
Kevin Stefanski. Mike McDaniel.
Yep.
Brian Flores. Robert Saleh. Who's your 5th?
Cliff Kingsbury.
Cliff Kingsbury, okay. So that's, it's interesting that he, and I love the fact that Mr. Bisciotti's open like that, because I think he brings
those
up.
are the parameters, right?
And I also think he brings up like some pretty good points. He's like, wait, 5 years ago, these guys were the hottest things going.
Yeah.
They go become head coaches. They don't have a quarterback. He obviously understands that he does. That doesn't make him a lesser head coach. I think it's interesting, and it kind of reveals a little bit of like who he's really eyeing.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, it's like, if I trust you as a coordinator, and then wherever you go, what you don't have, even if you had a good quarterback, you don't have a generational talent like Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
And if I can pair him with you, then this could be the formula that gets us over the hump. And as it pertains to involving Lamar Jackson in the search, it is absolutely time, because you understand this is the special part of your organization at the moment, and it is the clearest path to a Lombardi. And so you have to make sure that he's on that same page. And Lamar also has to take that responsibility, as he's alluded to, the same exact way. Like, you're not just a player anymore. Like, you are a face of the franchise. To get a Super Bowl, we need you to run this. Like, Harbaugh's gone. You are the guy. It's simple as that. And I think it's much deserved. It's time. He's a 3-time first-team All-Pro quarterback. There's only 8 of those in NFL history. And if I named them, it would be a ridiculous list. And so for Lamar, for Bisciotti, this is the moment. This hire will dictate what the next couple of years will look like in the NFL.
Bisciotti, yeah, it really is. Bisciotti's saying, like, I will send my plane to get you to come and be part of these interviews. He's already checked in with him after the interviews have happened. And it does also make you think they're really taking into consideration who Lamar can vibe with. Like, who is he going to enjoy being around?
Be huge.
It makes me think, too, they're leaning more offensive mind. Now, I know some of those names you mentioned, Brian Flores, maybe he's not as much of the offensive mind of Robert Saleh, but either way, it seems, I don't know.
Yeah, McDaniel obviously would jump there. Flores and Saleh, who's your offensive coordinator? Who is the person that you're bringing to call the plays for Lamar?
And Lamar can totally get on board with whoever that is if he likes that head coach.